Well, Matt, how you doing? We're gonna play some video games, right?
I've never had an anticipated games list, mainly because I'm not quite so gung-ho about overhyping anything that I know has the potential to disappoint me. But since I like talking about video games anyway, and because this year a lot of games are coming out which I actually have quite some faith in, I think it's time for me to actually give insight into what I'm actually looking forward to. And hopefully my hopes for these games are met, and I'm not lynched for being really excited about any of these. These are games that I'm looking forward to. Not you. Not you. I don't care how shiny that new fucking Minecraft texture packs of yours looks. We happy few? More like we crappy few. I'm just kidding, it actually looks really neat. When the dystopian genre is so overplayed that someone going and making a game where the concept is flipped on its head, and the people living in the dystopia actually think everything's all hunky-dory, I'm automatically impressed. Apparently there's still a lot of kinks in the machine and wrinkles in the design that they're smoothing out, which I'm willing to give a shot when the final product comes out, assuming I have an Xbox One by then. I tried out Neo on this channel and ultimately liked what I saw. Unfortunately, a bunch of the people wanted to criticize me for not digging deep into the mechanics and therefore didn't even understand what I meant when I said if I wanted to play Dark Souls, I'd just go play Dark Souls, and that what I was ultimately doing was just seeing what Team Ninja had to offer and wasn't even doing any sort of in-depth analysis, so they just end up looking like idiots when they flaunt their superiority, even though they're the ones that like the nuance to understand what I was doing, and I just wanted to get a sample. Anywho, I know what I said, and I went back to actually sit down and fickle around with what more they had to offer, and actually it's a lot less like Dark Souls than I initially thought. With the exception of the gameplay, it's a hell of a lot more aggressive than Souls, and apparently it has a narrative based on the true story of William Adams, with awesome ass cutscenes, and it's a real combat system with combos. Yeah, so in actuality, this is essentially the Onimusha game we all deserve. While we're on the subject of hacky slashy action, it looks like Nier Automata will carry on the spirit of Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, even though this is still apparently supposed to be set in the Drakengard universe, which I don't quite remember it being like this. It seems like kind of a deviation from what I remember playing the first Drakengard. If I'm wrong, let me know, and then cut me some slack, please. Please. I'm not a complete idiot. Anywho, speaking as someone who loves their hack and slash, apparently it's not essentially a hack and slash, which confuses the hell out of me considering the combat is tight and responsive like one. Apparently it's going to have more of the Yoko Taro signature than having the Platinum Games blood running through it, which is good, though I am waiting with bated breath for the next over-the-top exaggerated stylish beat-em-up like a Bayonetta 3, because we know Metal Gear Rising 2 ain't happening. Just anything but this. Regardless, yeah, I'm excited. Horizon Zero Dawn. Games like these are nice, something I don't have high expectations for, but most likely will deliver. I mean, you had me at robot dinosaurs. Sometimes all I need to get pumped is some great spectacle, stupendous music, and an original setting and protagonist. I'm not necessarily seeing anything splendid in the gameplay department, but it does look quite polished. It's almost scary how far ahead of the exclusive wars Sony is above all the others. I haven't really seen a bad PS4 exclusive. Moving on. Ah yes, Tekken 7. I played 1 through 5 and I can seriously regard it as one of the best fighting franchises ever. I alas did not touch 6 or Tekken Tag Tournament 2 because when those came out, Mortal Kombat started to get good again and I just kinda lost focus, but holy shit, this looks like the most polished Tekken game ever, even more so than I'd say Tekken 5 was. It looks slick, the mechanics seem to be ramped up like nuts, so yeah, color me interested. Speaking of fighting games, holy shit, Marvel vs. Capcom is back. Oh my god, look at this. I was expecting to wait another 10 years, but it seems like Capcom wants to jump on the big boom moneymaker that is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and apparently my Uncle Dante is back, so I immediately want my hands on it right now. But damn, the game is gonna be at a 60 frames per second while looking this gorgeous. God bless MT Framework. Man, Scalebound looks absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to get my hands on this. This is one of the main reasons I want an Xbox One in the first place. Too bad it got cancelled, huh? Listen, I was genuinely on the verge of shedding manly cries. This looked like it was gonna be Kamiya's next big thing since Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, and what happened? Well, all that potential was just simply pissed away without a second thought. I don't care what the articles say about how careful their considerations were. Kamiya, just go make Bayonetta 3, or maybe another Beautiful Joe, or maybe Sony could just pick the game back up, just something, anything. I genuinely don't know what hope feels like anymore. I quite enjoyed the first Gravity Rush, and after playing the demo for the sequel, well, to be quite honest, it just seems like more Gravity Rush with a graphical overhaul. I couldn't really find anything that was refined or tweaked. Maybe the flying is easier to control and the throwing objects works now, but there's not much of a difference in combat, and also the frame rate took a hit in exchange for what may look pretty, but not spectacular enough for my performance to be a damper. So though, like I said, quite enjoyed the first one, might as well sit down and play this one. What can I say about Yooka-Laylee that hasn't already been said? It looks phenomenal. Playtonic Games are really pulling out all the stops to make sure that we are all satisfied in our faith, and providing it with the financial support it needed was rewarded so we don't cry like an anime fan on prom night. As someone who dined on Banjo-Kazooie like a fine meal, you can expect me to indulge in this fine cuisine. It just looks like everything I want from a 3D mascot platformer, so hell yes. You know, if this generation insists on continuing to release old titles with a visual polish, they should bite the bullet and do it like this. Not just a texture repaint, but a complete graphical overhaul. I mean, holy shit, this looks great. Yeah, I know it's just the same game again, and I know it's just a nostalgia bait, and I'm totally going to buy it because I'm an idiot, but god damn it, maybe I do want to play some of my favorite games but prettied up so I can actually read the text. Have you tried playing a 360p game on a 42-inch 1080p TV? It looks ass. You might as well make me play the game with wax paper taped over my eyes. So hell yes, sign me up for this. The words I can use for Outlast 2 is cautiously optimistic. Outlast was one of the best horror games I've played. Often imitated but never duplicated, it broke ground with the developer's unapologetic design and artistic direction, with some fucked up imagery and truly blood-curdling scenarios. But apparently, according to some who play the demo, the sequel is something to be somewhat of a ghost story, which makes me raise an eyebrow because one of the big reasons the first one freaked me out so much was because it was grounded in kind of realistic elements of mad science. Experimental horror is my favorite type of horror because looking back at history can show you people have really been this messed up in the head. But if the explanation from all these happenings in this sequel is going to be magic, then I feel kinda cheated. I haven't touched the demo because I want to play this blind, but that's why I use cautiously optimistic. Hopefully there's a logical explanation for all this. So, Resident Evil now has decided to take a stab at the first-person dark, quiet, spooky super horror that was made popular by Amnesia and, well, Outlast. I know some people are scared that it's trying to imitate the formula of those, but I'm not quite sure if that's the case. Simply seems like they're adopting a different style. If the full game is anything like Beginning Hour, I can't imagine there's anything to be concerned about, considering the clever Easter eggs implemented like in the games of old. And the fact that I was legitimately horrified at one particular segment that I'm sure those of you who played the Midnight version know what I'm talking about. Also, if it's anything like Beginning Hour, you'll have to think on your feet real fast whenever you get caught or whatever you're gonna have to deal with a nasty little beast, considering you got shit for bullets in the teaser, which again isn't a bad thing, but hopefully it isn't going to be like The Evil Within where it asks you to be disciplined in reserving bullets while the game itself showed no discipline in knowing when and where to give you bullets, and you're left with an unbearably difficult if not impossible situation. Though the one thing I am quite jarred about is what kind of horror are they doing? Like, on the one hand they're doing monster horror like the old days, then they're doing slasher horror with the Baker family, then they're doing psychological horror with the mannequins and quiet nature of it all, and even paranormal horror? Really? Ghosts? Are you serious? It just kind of makes you go, where exactly is Capcom going with this? I mean, who is this for? And then again, the fact that Capcom seems to want to keep their lips shut and aren't divulging what exactly is going to justify making this a Resident Evil game as opposed to a completely new IP is probably the reason why so many people are hyped up about it. We haven't seen this much buzz about a new Resident Evil game since when Resident Evil 5 first got announced literally 10 years ago. All in all, the potential I see in this being the scariest Resident Evil game out there is unpalpable. Bring it on, Capcom. Many times we can suffer for our hype, and unfortunately many more times no one ever learns from it, so it's important to know the difference between hype and confidence. But if there's one game I've had 100% hype for and 110% confidence in, it would have to go, of course, to Persona 5. There's nothing I can say here that I haven't said before. It really looks like one of the greatest games ever. The graphics are amazing, the story is on point, the voice acting sounds damn near perfect, and I know I sound like a fanboy, but Atlus hasn't really let me down with anything. Persona and Shin Megami Tensei as a whole have actually changed my life. Persona 3 and Persona 4 are like a drug to me. I play them when I'm sick, when I'm healthy, when I'm sad, when I'm happy, and it feels very much like Persona 5 will provide me with the same feeling. And Atlus will provide me with many more hours of complete bliss. And if the reception over in Japan, where it's already out, is anything to go by, I just might be able to say that my 8-year wait was worth every second. Just in case, was there anything I missed? I don't think so. Maybe something that has yet to be... Oh.